supporting the event. We are running this chapter. November's theme in Creative Mornings is growth. This is the global theme. It was chosen by our chapter in Sacramento, California, and it has been illustrated by Amber Rankin. Growth requires courage, it requires curiosity. Is it going out of your comfort zone? It is shedding parts of you, old versions of you. And our guest here today, Gianni Valeri, knows a lot about growth. Gianni is a consultant. He has been leading medium-sized and big-sized companies for the last 25 years. You are an expert in talent strategy, in leadership and intercultural management. You work with individuals and companies. And welcome, Gianni.
Thank you.
Yeah, the stage is
Thank you, welcome. Hope you hear me. Just one thing that is very important, if you go that way, there's a cable, so don't stumble. Just make sure you have that. So, I won't give you the recipe and the miracle and the secrets of growth.
No.
So now you can choose whether you want to stay or not. But I want to share some of my experiences, some of my thoughts, and some things that are around in my head. And I'm sure that there's much more in this room and all over, but let me start to share a bit about my experiences as well. So, where it all started, as all of you, we started studying, school, so we filled our head with a lot of knowledge. So that's one dimension that we start to grow and learn, and that's usually the first one we use. And then we start to apply it into jobs. Unfortunately, in Switzerland, we have an education system that does that in parallel. So you go to school. So I did a commercial school, Zurich, just no, across that side, I think. In tourism, and so I studied, filled and accumulated knowledge, and applied it straight away. The same happened when I went to hotel management school in Zurich. So I needed to learn the theory of cooking, but then I needed to cook it, because you don't eat theory, right, on the plate. So you need something that is nice to see, but also to eat. So that's the second dimension, applying knowledge, the second dimension of growth. And then eventually in my next jobs in hospitality and in the staffing industry, organizations or bosses, managers and other people would see some kind of potential in me, and they would promote me and give me larger projects. I would start to expand my limits and my boundaries. That was another growth, another dimension of growth. So going into more responsibilities. And then obviously having more responsibilities drives you to make more mistakes, but you also succeed in things. And that's where I started to reflect myself, what did I do? What did I do well? What wasn't the best decision? And so self-reflection has become something as a growth theme for me that is very important, because you learn from yourself. That's another dimension of growth I have experienced. And finally, there's this disrupting events in your life that make you grow as well. They hit you, you don't choose them, they just hit you in the middle of the night or day, whatever, which is kind of losing a job, getting divorced, losing people. These are things that just hit you, but you learn. And so if I look at these 5 dimensions that I mentioned, let's say accumulating knowledge and applying it, that's something you can plan, you can execute, some of you do still or do again, further education, you learn it, you apply it in the jobs, it's something you can plan. Right? The other thing is getting the opportunity to grow in a company, getting a new job. That's not something that you would think happens to you, because people should see it and then promote you. But I would say, looking back, that if you apply knowledge, you make yourself visible. And by being curious and interested and asking a lot of questions, you make yourself visible too. So it's not as much a external element that make you grow, but it's yourself that can drive it. It's a conscious act to make your knowledge, your new knowledge, applicable and visible to the environment. Now, if the environment doesn't see that, you can still change environment. So you can still do it. You're open to do that. The conscious act you can still follow. Right? The next dimension I experience as self-reflection is also a conscious act. You can do it. When I started self-reflection, I put it in my agenda. It was always Friday, 4 o'clock. But that was the meeting I always skipped because the person I had the meeting with did not complain. So I had to learn that it was very important to keep that meeting with myself and to work on self-reflection. That's a conscious act as well, so I can influence that. It's in my hands. And if we come back now to the last dimension of growth which I experienced, which is these disrupting events in life, you cannot choose them. They hit you, they got you. You can choose to face them. You can choose usually to face yourself. And that's potentially the most difficult thing to do. To go before the mirror, look into the mirror and face yourself and work with yourself. So these were kind of the dimensions of growth I have witnessed and lived and experienced. And summarizing this would mean, say, you need to recognize these opportunities of growth. You need to be in a conscious act to do that, to be able to grow. But you can kind of, not everything, but most of it, you can kind of start to influence it and work on that. But you need also the curiosity. What you said also, the curiosity, the interest about that. And there we have a little challenge. We adults have a little challenge with this curiosity and interest. And let me share a study of NASA, because NASA didn't find the geniuses they wanted. So they commissioned a study to George Land, and he wanted to know what is the nature of creativity, the nature of genius. And so they found something very astonishing, and they found that 5-year-old kids, 98% of those kids have the ability to be creative. 98%. That's cool. 5-year-olds. Or what happens to 10-year-olds? Only 30% of 10-year-old kids still exhibit the ability of creativity. And what do you think as an adult? Where are we as an adult? How many adults of hundreds still exhibit creativity or the ability to be creative? What do you think?
2%.
How much? 2%. Okay. The winner. Unfortunately, you're right. Only 2%. Now, I know, we are CreativeMornings, we're the 2% here. That's clear, we're the 2%. But only 2% are still able to be creative. So how can we recognize opportunities if we're not curious and interested, right? And George Land said the education system, they're responsible for that. Now, yes, but there's potentially even more things. And there's a cognitive thing in our heads that is driving us. And it's called a cognitive simplification. What does that mean? It means that, let's say from an evolutionary point of view, it was life-saving. You know? Because simplification in a complex word means you can quickly see something and then decide very quickly. See a lion? Danger? Run. Very fast. Now, there's not many lions out there that you need to escape from, and therefore this has changed. But okay, yeah, I agree. Some lions are kind of hidden, and you still need to run. Now, we don't need to run anymore, but what we do is we put things in boxes. That's how we simplify. Gen X, Gen Y, the secondos, the expats, and all of those boxes. That's typical. Who knows what this is?
Oh God, yeah.
That was 50 years ago, or maybe not even 50 years ago, but you have one.
Yeah.
You know, keeping memories from all the places where you went and then put them there. So we put things in boxes to make it easier, but there's obviously a downside of that. We suppress the curiosity and the interest of the individual. And the problem is we have unlearned to ask. We assume. Adults assume. They see something, they take a box and they know. That's how it is. Now obviously very much and very often we stereotype and we discriminate, and there's lots of things also ethically that go wrong here. But that's how we work. That's how the brain usually works. So this is preventing us of being curious and interested and asking because we assume we know. That's a bit kind of a pitfall. And you know, how many questions? Who has kids? Okay, a lot of kids in the room. So how many questions do kids ask a day?
Warum?
Why? Why is it training? Why is the sky blue? What's all those things? We know. No, we don't have a clue, but we don't ask anymore. Kids ask up to 400 questions a day. Adults, 10 to 20. So that's a big difference. But there's more cognitive pitfalls in our heads. And it's called the cognitive scripts. So this is just not working. But it doesn't matter. This is just a few pictures here. Oh, sorry. This is a computer that works on its own. So, they don't say a lot of pictures. They just accompany myself and supporting me. So, what is the cognitive scripts are kind of preventing us of being creative and being exploratory. And what is it? I just picked a few cognitive scripts. One is the continuation bias, which means I've been doing this in a certain way since many years, so I continue to do it the same way. So we're afraid of changing our role in our lives. So if I'm the one in a work environment in a team that's always been quiet, why should I start to say something? If I'm the one who always first to talk, why should I wait? That's a kind of scripts that are kind of fixed in our heads, and we unconsciously use them. And then there's the crowd-pleasing script. You already hear it. It's basically meeting the expectations of a group, which may be family, maybe your alumni organization of your university, or any group that you're in. And it may also be fear of not being accepted anymore, fear of exclusion, that drive our decisions. And finally, and I love that one, because you hear it 100,000 times a day, follow your dream, follow your passion. That sounds good. The problem is, we only hear the stories of the successful ones, the Bezos, the billionaires. We don't see the failures and the failed ones. And it implies that if I do what I love, automatically I will be successful and rich, which we all know is not true. Now, there's a psychologist at Stanford, Carl Dweck, that found out that these mantras, love, do what you love and follow your passion, brings people to, when they start to do what they love, they give up much earlier. As soon as they get into inevitable hurdles, they stop. It's not strong enough if they follow a mantra and not really what is in themselves. So we see there's a few pitfalls in here to grow, to curiosity, to interest. And I ask myself, where is it gone, this curiosity? Where is it? Is there any left somewhere in the 2% out there in the world? And yes, obviously I found it. And I found it in another experiment that is very interesting as well, which is Robert Rosenthal, psychologist, American psychologist. The Rosenthal effect, you potentially know it rather the Pygmalion effect. You know that. The experiment was to take a number of students and have them done a IQ-like test. So they did the test, And the researchers told the teachers that they will find out which students are the ones that have the highest probability to grow and to learn, kind of the talents, right? So they did the test. But then they randomly picked just a group of students, nothing to do with the test, completely out of the test, didn't look at the test, randomly picked a number of students and labeled them high potentials. And they sent them to the teachers. So teachers had high potential that were not high potentials, but they thought that they had high potentials. 8 months later, they have redone the test, and the labeled high potentials scored, and that's the interesting thing, scored significantly higher than their peers. So where was the high potential? Where was this intelligence coming from? Somebody knew before Rosenthal, and that's him. That's a Pietà for Michelangelo. And Michelangelo said, I'm not sculpting something, I'm just releasing and revealing what is already there.
Take away all this.
Yeah? So he basically says that it's within you, you have it. You just need to take away the excess material, and you will find your interest, your curiosity, and your growth. So that's where it is. You have it already. Nowhere else. It's within you. The growth, the interest, the curiosity. You just need to release it and make it free. Right? That was my biggest finding, I must say, in my experience as well. And then I wanted to look at nature. Nature, I mean, we're part of nature. We just forgot sometimes. But we're part of nature, and we learn a lot from nature. And I was in the US in summer, in Oregon. That's my picture, I'm really proud. My own picture. And West Coast, Oregon, amazing, you need to go there. It's really amazing. So we were at Port Orford, a nice bay, walking, and I came across that. You know what it is?
Crab.
It's a crab. But it's an empty crab shell. And crabs get rid of their rigid shell, and that process is called molting. Right? So molting is like a wardrobe change for crabs. And they do that because they want to grow in size. They need to get rid of that, they grow and then they're kind of stuck in that shell, and then they crawl out of that shell to get out. But the moment they get out of that hard protective shell, they're completely unprotected. They're completely vulnerable. But that's the only way to grow. They need to get rid of their rigid, hard shell to be able to grow again. That's a nice learning from nature how to grow as well. So maybe sometimes we should get rid of some things to be able to grow again. And another nice lesson from nature is this. I mean, did you know that trees have to grow in two directions? I mean, we all know that, right? They need to grow downward and they need to grow upward. That is fairly clear. Did you also realize that the root system under the ground looks very much and is very similar as the fruit system above the ground? That is so far so clear. But there's two natures of the trees. There's a gravitropic and the phototropic. Did you know that? Did you know gravitropic? If you plant a seed of a tree, the seed will first grow downwards into the dark towards gravity. It's dark, it's damp, and the roots will have to find their way through the dirt. There's a lot of resistance, right? But only when the root system is really strong, then the tree will start to break up earth and start to grow towards light, away from gravity. That's the phototropic point. And there's no resistance anymore. But it only does that when the root system is strong. So only a strong root system will bring along fertile and beautiful fruits, the fruit system up above the ground. So it means as well that you need to have a strong root system to be able to shine outside and maybe become visible for all the opportunities we've talked about before. That's also a very beautiful lesson from nature I have seen. Now, coming a bit to an end and summarizing a bit my thoughts is that growth during life can be kind of unpredictable and chaotic. Could look like that. Although I felt that there was still as well a bit of structure. And I don't like that picture very much. So, chaotic yes, structure yes, so I think rather of the chaos theory and of fractals, I like that very much and much more than the other one. Still chaotic, but still some structure. There's still many things we can influence, we can be consciously acting upon it. But some things are also just arriving and then we'll pick the opportunities and sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there. So it's very chaotic. So my learnings here is really recognizing the opportunities by being very attentive and present in the present. You know to say that, I mean, we're very much in the past and in the future. Our head is very much working on things that are in the past or will come in the future. Certainly heard it yesterday. It's history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called present. So that's being present in the moment gives us the opportunity and the curiosity to see the opportunities in a role, in a responsibility, in a job, but more than that, in people you meet. You meet somebody for a day, you spend a few hours together, you meet somebody for a few days, for a few weeks, for a few months, you travel along the journey together for some time, and you can learn a lot from everybody. And I guess these are really, from my perspective, very nice learnings I was able and still I'm able to take away from people, not only from things I live in jobs or in anything. So recognizing and being present and attentive to the situation in the moment is key also to be able to learn and to grow in that. And so growth means the learning, but also sometimes unlearning things or relearning things. That's also part of the growth journey we should take away. And as we've seen from the crab, growth means also the courage to become vulnerable, get rid of some old stuff. It means also the curiosity to explore and to imagine and risk also with the unknown. You know, we step in the unknown. You don't know if there's ground. Usually there is. Maybe not so stable, but we'll find the ground. Sometimes you need to just step out and do that. And it also means the inner strength, as we've seen from the tree, to shine above the ground. So the inner side and the outer side of our lives. And it's a journey. Growth is a journey, it never ends. And finally, growth is something that lies within you. You have it. You have just to release it. Thank you.